Imagine being able to work only when you feel like it, doing only the work that you enjoy doing, having no boss to stress you, and having all the creative freedom possible. Sounds good? Well, having your own business is, on most days, nothing like that. Welcome to the Communication Couch. What's up, everybody? It's great to see you again. Well, technically you are seeing me, but I thought that it would be nice to say that. Isn't it nice? Isn't it nice? It's great to see you. These days are very special here at Fennel because just this month my company got its very first physical office/studio. It's a bit of a dream come true. I started my company in a student dorm. Take that, Steve Jobs. And I've always worked from home or co-working spaces, but this is a new chapter right here. So in the light of this, a lot of people have been asking, Karlo, what is it like to have your own business? Well, actually no one really asked, but I thought it would be cool to make an episode about that. In personal development circles, entrepreneurship is often presented as this absolute dream life. The day you become self-employed, you enter this magical 1% of population that is free and enlightened, and it's only a matter of days when you will be getting money on your account just by sipping margaritas on a beach in Bali. But in reality, being an entrepreneur, just like spelling the word itself, is not that simple. Personally, I have been self-employed since 2018, and it's still my dream to build a big brand of my own. But since then, I learned that having your own business is quite different from that image that self-improvement gurus gave me when I was starting out. Let's start from the beginning. First of all, what your work will look like is highly dependent on what kind of a business you're running, or rather, what you offer. There's basically two types of businesses, product-based or service-based. If you sell toothbrushes, phone cases, elbow stands, or lemonade, you're in the product business. If you are a tax advisor, graphic designer, personal trainer, or perhaps a communication coach, you are offering services. Now this distinction is pretty important because while you can start selling services with little to no starting capital, you will probably have to raise some capital to produce or buy, store, and ship your products, and also a lot of other things. Of course, you can do the same if you offer services. You could raise some money and invest in the business, so you have higher chances of making it work. But where this distinction is the most important is if you're paying yourself from day one or not. Because if you have starting capital, you can also pay yourself, so you don't need a source of income for your living costs. This way you have better prospects of success, but also a bigger risk because if the business doesn't work out, all of the money, gone. I personally took the other road. I started with very little capital and also very small expenses. This way I didn't have much stress, but since I also had to do jobs to actually make a living, I wasn't always able to devote myself to the business that much. There were times when I would go to work in the morning, come home, take a nap, thank God for those naps, and then work on my video courses or give a workshop somewhere. Or sometimes I would take a vacation so I can go and be a host on a conference for a couple of days. So I'd take time off work to work. Thankfully, after the first 2 years, my business did lift off the ground a bit. And for a while now, I've been able to make a living through my self-employment. In the beginning, this was brilliant. I mean, it still is, but it's not exactly as you imagine it at first. Because when you start, you think that you will always be motivated to work. After all, you're not doing this for someone else, you're doing it for yourself. And you're doing the thing that you love. I mean, what can go wrong? But after a certain time, it also becomes work, just like anything else. Yeah, you love it. But when that's the main thing you do, you don't always feel like doing it. And that brings us to the point of being your own boss. If you are your own boss, you are also your own employee. and it can be difficult defining how strict this boss should be to the employee. That is, how strict you should be to yourself. I've had times when I was being way harder on myself than any boss I worked for was. In addition, more often than not, you can't afford not to work, so better learn how to motivate yourself. And before you get carried away thinking, well, at least I get to do things the way I want to do them, don't forget that there is also someone called the customer. And customers can be very, well, I shouldn't say anything in case some of them are watching. I love you guys. Oh, and freedom, sometimes you have way too much of it. Yes, you have all the freedom in creating your website and creating your product and how you market yourself and how you manage your finances and how you acquire customers, how you manage your customers. But when you have endless options, you often actually get paralyzed. There's so many things you could do and that you would like to do, but you can't do all of them. And you have no idea which ones should work and which ones wouldn't, so you don't know what to focus on. Of course, this is all the more difficult when you don't have experience in some of these areas. And it's virtually impossible to have experience in all of them because there are just so many things that you have to manage as an entrepreneur. But I know what you're thinking. Damn, this Karlo is such a good-looking guy. Well, if you actually are thinking that, thank you. You're not so bad yourself. But I know what you're also thinking. Okay, Karlo, if you're only whining about it so much, why do it in the first place? Well, first of all, and I can't lie on this one, but being an entrepreneur is pretty cool. Aha! Now, of course, some people only do it for the image, so they can walk around looking sharp, hustling, and I have to admit it's also done wonders for my Instagram. But more important than that is that feeling you get when something you created is successful. Something that didn't exist before, but that was your idea and that you brought into existence through your hard work, and this thing is so good that someone else said, here, I'll give you money for that. Even in the beginning, you make your first $10 or $5, or no matter how much, it's so precious because you created something and earned money with it. You earned that all by yourself, completely independent. Come to think about it, it's kind of like the first sexual experience. You have no clue what you're doing, you're not good at it, you don't get much out of it, but you're hella proud of yourself. In addition, although being self-employed is much more work in the short term, in the long term, your potential of growth, personally, professionally, and financially, as an entrepreneur, is much bigger. As a little side note, statistically speaking, people who end up being the most successful, regardless of what career path they follow, are often the ones who subscribe to this channel and hit that like button. As an employee in a company, you can climb the hierarchy and potentially get promoted all the way to CEO, but you will always have to work for your money. And not to mention that being a CEO is also no joke. But as the words own business suggest, you own the business, which means that if it grows big enough, you could hire people to run the business for you and cash passive income. On top of that, nowadays there's a lot of business models that you can automate or outsource to a high extent, which again brings us to the two magic words, passive income. And ultimately, even if your business fails and you need to go looking for jobs again, you will actually have a much easier time finding a job when the employers see that you also have experience running a business or a project of your own. That's how I landed several jobs. So, in my modest opinion, running your own business is a fantastic thing, but there's also nothing wrong with having a job. I think this idea of being self-employed often gets pushed as the only true way of achieving professional success and happiness and whatnot, but that's not true. If it doesn't appeal to you, you're better off having a job in an existing company. You can still make a lot of money, even achieve financial freedom if you invest your money wisely or get stocks in the company at some point. You can gain beautiful experiences with your colleagues, feel accomplished and fulfilled. You can have all of this just as well in an existing company. But if you feel that little spark in you, if you feel that fire in your belly, that might mean one of two things. First, maybe you need to go to the bathroom. But if you check, and if it's not that, if you have a business idea, you should give it a try. Especially if it's a service, if you don't have to invest a lot of money, or if you can start as a little side hustle and then see how big it grows and then eventually maybe devote to it full time. You really don't have much to lose. And I like to think it's always better to try and even to fail than to look back one day and think, what if? That's my piece of advice. But of course, it's all up to you. Write your opinion in the comments section. Are you thinking about starting your own venture? What are your doubts? Or if you already are self-employed, what are your experiences? Would you recommend it to others? Thank you for your attention, my friend, and have yourself a great day.